going to do, I'm going to take you through a whistle-stop tour a bit about Babcock. Although we are a large organisation, we don't make any assumption that people know who we are, because over a number of years we have hidden our light under a bushel and not always publicised very well what we do. And some of that will be because also we work within the defence industry, and we've got a lot better focused around our branding and awareness, and you will see now much more public information coming out about what we do as Babcock, which is really important to us to do that, to continue to cultivate our brand. So we work within the defence industry. I'm going to do a bit of an overview about what we do as Babcock, but do a whistle-stop tour of some of the exciting stuff that we do get involved in. That's all public information anyway. And then a bit more about our emerging talent and what emerging talent means to us, and why we've rebranded to emerging talent rather than early careers, and what we're doing in those fields, and a bit of an overview of train to fit programs that's been mentioned specifically. And then I'll do a bit more of a profile overview of one of our other train to fit candidates who is within the demographic that we're looking at, so you can hear a bit more about Carol. And then I'll hand over to Nigel, who's on the call with me, who'll be able to kind of really give you some insights if you have questions into what it was like to go through that process. He will be best served to help with giving you that real great insight into that. So what do Babcock do? This, what we do, we deliver support on complex programs. Well, what does that in effect mean to people? We have 4 distinct sectors that we operate in, which is the marine sector, the nuclear sector, the land sector, and the aviation sector. And I get really excited when I talk to people about what Babcock do. For example, who can say that they design and build Type 31 warships, and also are involved in really complex things such as strategic weaponry. Within the marine sector alone, we've got 7,000 people. The headline of the colleagues that we work with within our businesses, both in the UK and globally, reaches up to about 28,000 colleagues that we directly employ within our business. And that doesn't even take into account all of the smaller SME organisations that we work with, and all the contracting partners and all the individuals that support defence and nuclear, both in the UK and globally. Within the nuclear business alone, we've got 10,000 people doing a range of different jobs across lots of different locations. But if I can couch it as that we do the entire complex engineering and maintenance for the full fleet of the submarine programme, that'll give you a bit of an idea. And Nigel's closer to that as well in his current role that he does in terms of the involvement. But also we're working with individual organisations and governments overseas. We're not just UK focused, although predominantly we've edged away from 80% UK to 20% internationally. We're 70% UK with 30% internationally. It is our desire and strategic aspiration to grow internationally as well, with a head marker around trying to get to 50% UK, 50% internationally, just in terms of the ratio. It does not mean, it means we're still going to continue with the volume of work that we do in the UK as one of the key suppliers to the Ministry of Defence, but we have aspirations to grow internationally. I'll talk about that as well. Within the land business, we have another 5,000 or so people within that particular part of the business. And we do really snazzy things like we have partnered with an entrepreneurial business to build one of the new military vehicles, the Jackal 3, for the Army, which is an armoured vehicle. We also operate the military driving school and the training schools in the UK, and do the maintenance on the vehicles in those locations. So if you can imagine the really old Land Rovers that, continue to go, but they need a lot of maintenance, we do a lot of work on those. And we do work on military vehicles, which you can imagine are things, anything from tanks that are provided to the Army, as well as all-terrain Unimog vehicles. And over the past number of years, we've also done training to train the Metropolitan Police, as well as the London Fire Brigade, and lots of others. And then again, within the aviation sector that we've got, we have some really, you know, I'm in awe of these people, but really amazing pilots, for example, who train the French fighter pilots. We employ pilots, and I always use this one because I love stories. So if you're like me, you're curious and you love stories, and it sticks in my brain, unlike some other things. But I always tell people how we used to operate the emergency helicopters for roadside assistance. And I was like, do you know we used to employ Prince William, because he was a pilot, and Babcock used to employ Prince William, which wasn't quite well known at the time, of course, for obvious reasons. So we do loads of exciting things. Nigel can give you a bit more of which he's some of the stuff that he's permitted to give you the stuff that's in the public domain, of course. But we also are involved in what we call mission systems, which is technology, defence related, of looking at how can we be innovative as well. I won't show the video just now. I'll hang fire, but I can share it after because it's public information, Lucy, and make sure it can get circulated out to the groups and wider if you wish as well. These are some of the people that we partner with. You know, you may be forgiven as I was until I got clued up that, you know, Saab don't just make cars, and Rolls-Royce just don't make snazzy vehicles, and some of the stuff that they do. So we partner with a number of organisations. We're actually partnered with Saab for the development of work over in Sweden for fleet surface ships. And we're also working with the Polish military as well in terms of support for engineering and vehicles in those areas. And our government partners are growing. Hence, I started off at the top of the call talking about how we have aspirations to grow internationally as well, and what we do. We've gone through a rebrand. So just in 2025, we went through a rebrand of looking at actually what is our brand refresh and what do we want to be known as. And one of the focus areas in particular for how we engage with people is go together, go far. Up until a number of years ago, Babcock was considered as being a number of potentially disparate organisations, so over 135 different legal entities that had grown up over quite a period of time. But over the last four years or so, we've got to a much better place where actually we've got, somebody had asked about culture, so just to touch on that point, we've got a real focus around actually we're greater than the sum of our parts. So if we go together, go far is one of the key sort of strap lines that we use around our philosophy for our culture. And our purpose headline is creating a safe and secure world together. And that's underpinned by 6 principles of which we look for to develop in our people, and also to recruit on the basis of the principles that we have. And how many organisations can actually say they have a principle that links to being kind? So we go out, we publicise it, we make sure it's part of everything that we do. And what we mean by being kind is for individuals to be kind to themselves as well as others, and continuing to focus a stronger element around inclusion and diversity as well. We talked about where we do things, so we operate across a range of countries. We have people in obviously throughout the UK on hundreds of different site locations, some of which are Babcock. So Babcock do own and operate Devonport Royal Dockyard down south, and we also own and operate Rosyth Dockyard as well. But our colleagues work across a number of locations, including the Ministry of Defence sites throughout the UK and overseas as well. But we do have people and organisations in France, Australasia, New Zealand. We've got pockets of people through our civil nuclear business in Japan, South Korea, and other locations dotted throughout the globe as well. And we've also got people in South Africa and Canada. Predominantly, most of our workforce is UK-centric. Out of those 28,000 people, we're still largely UK-centric in terms of the people that do work for us and with us, but we are growing internationally, so much so that people who are interested in getting opportunities overseas are sort of applying to Babcock, and even the apprentices and at different stages of the career, with a view to be able to get opportunities over in Australia. And I'll give you a success story as well. One of my colleagues who I'd worked with left to go and work for another organisation, then decided to retire. And I had a chat with him towards the tail end of last year into the autumn. And he'd gone into consultancy, he was thinking about retiring, and he was approached about an opportunity to go to Australia. He is 60 years of age. And within 2 months of 2 months of sort of having a chat with me, he told me he'd been offered the job to go on to comment. He was going to Australia with his partner, and they, you know, that was all done really, really quickly. So age isn't a barrier. That's somebody who thought about retiring, missed some of the work, came back and did consultancy on a different sort of hourly, not on a full-time basis for a while, or on a full-time and took some time off, and then got the opportunity to go to Australia. And I was super thrilled for him when he told me that he was going, and he was really excited, and it all happened really quickly. So broader perspective on talent, what are the challenges that we've got? So whilst some of the job market is challenging, I absolutely recognise that for individuals gaining employment. We do have a challenge in securing talent into the business. We have a growing business. In some areas, we've got an ageing demographic, particularly in certain pools of skill sets where we have individuals who may choose to retire, so much so that we've developed, we'll need to come up with a different name for it, but it's a retirement retention program to allow people the ability to look at taking on more flexibility, advisory, mentoring positions if they were thinking about retiring. We want to retain their, what we call the SQUEP, so the skills, qualification, experience people. So we've got a program that's being piloted down in Devonport, looking at we'll call them the retirees program, but it's basically retaining people in our business who've got that great experience. We've got a very competitive market. So from a talent pool point of view, we, along with nuclear, along with other large defence engineering organisations, are fishing in quite a small talent pool. And we had to look for different ways to consider how we would fill a number of the job role opportunities that we've got. And we've had job role opportunities across a range of areas, but some of the areas that we really struggled in was, for example, in project management, project controls, project scheduling, because these are roles that were in significant high demand. So we looked to do something different. What was that? That was the Train to Fit program, working with Experience to look at actually how can we flip it on its head, because we're not likely to fill the positions that we've got, even if we went and swept up everybody that had that skill set available, particularly those that have got engineering experience. We had to look at doing something different. And that something different was looking to hire on the basis of aptitude, potential, capability, transferable skills. And it took a little while. I can speak from a point of view, having been in an operational business where the norm used to be that for project managers, some of those business area leaders had the expectation that in order to become a project manager working in the defence of that particular site location, you had to be ex-Navy. No offence, Nigel, that was the perception before, that it was only ex-Navy personnel who could then therefore have that engineering capability. So working across the business to actually flip that on its head and say the project manager skill set could be done, and you don't necessarily have to be an engineer to be able to do it. We worked in conjunction to kind of influence that and get the leadership of those areas on board to think differently about some of these skills that could be acquired as well. So we worked with Experience to develop a bespoke training program. Starting off, it was project management that did it, but because of how successful it's been, it's then grown into other areas such as project scheduling, project planning, project controls, as well as considering other areas. So we've had over 150 people hired now over the last 3 years or so into the Train to Fit program. And to give you a bit of a flavour for it, we've hired people from such diverse backgrounds, such as individuals who are in the creative arts, who've worked in, creative industries, individuals who have been in retail all of their life, individuals who have taken a career break. That was mentioned earlier on as a question from Dula, I think it was, and who'd sort of taken time out for childcare and responsibilities and then wanted to kind of challenge themselves further. So somebody had worked in logistics or administration. So in a nutshell, we developed the Train to Fit program and a focus around emerging talent rather than early careers, because it's out of necessity for us to look at how we're going to fill our roles in the future, and gradually moving away from actually it's one of these that we need, and therefore it's one of these that we hire in, because the reality of it is that those individuals are not just out there waiting in the wings to come and join all these different organizations. There's skills shortages in those areas. I've covered a bit about the Train to Fit. I won't dwell on that, just in terms of the program. Nigel will be able to give you that real flavour around what it was like, and if you've got any specific questions, we can take those as we go through, or at the end as well. We've left a little bit of time for us to be able to do that. But basically, the program goes over a 14-month period. There's an intensive period, obviously, when you go through the application process. There's an intensive process as you're going through the education and the learning, where it's full-time education, full-time teamwork, and then individuals, once they've got the required qualifications that are required, for example, it'll be advanced project management, APM, that Nigel can share a little bit with if needed, then they come into the business off the back of that education learning. And there is a focus around people skills, leadership skills, presenting skills. It's not just all the technical requirements for the job. There's a focus on the ability to transition. But do you know what we found from an employer's point of view? We find that individuals that are career changers that have all of this experience are much more effective and efficient when they come into the business, to be able to just, with support as needed, as different people may need support, but be able to crack on, get on with it, talk to people, engage, find things out, work on their own initiative. That's the benefit of bringing in people who tend to fit in this Train to Fit category for us as an organisation. And just to give you a little bit, Carol can't be with us today, but Carol joined the organisation. I'll let you have a quick read of what she says. But, she joined the programme at 53 years of age, wanted to do something different, took time out for a career break. It was as though I prepared this knowing that what you were going to ask for as well. She hadn't done classroom learning. She was challenging ourselves, worked with a cohort. And she's just thriving in the environment that she's in, and it's a tough environment. It was an environment that I'd worked in myself previously, in a tough operational, fast-paced, customer interfacing. When I say customer, we mean the Royal Navy and the military, in terms of the interfaces with those. But she is absolutely loving what she's doing. So a fabulous case study from Carol that we have. And then I will pause and go on mute to allow Nigel to take over and do a bit of a chat through on what he wants to cover with you all today.
Hi, good afternoon. While you probably try and read my short profile, keeping it short and sweet. I left school on the Friday and joined the Navy on the Monday at the age of 16, hence why I was able to do 36 years, and I joined up as a cook, cooking bacon, sausages, etc. On many platforms, many ships around the world. But those skills over the years in the military, I grew, I evolved, and was very able to, present myself with the opportunity in Train to Fit back in 2023. it was a great opportunity. I was the first cohort of project management and the second cohort of train to fit. So I was very much probably a guinea pig. And I know that the program has evolved and developed an awful lot. We gave an awful lot of constructive feedback at the Train to Fit program. But here I am, 3 years down the line from reaping the rewards of the Train to Fit program, and I'm very happy and very settled in my role that I'm now doing in Babcock. I know as it's matured, I now do a 4-day week. I work, from home 2 days of the week, so it's very much a hybrid job. Not all, positions and roles are, that flexible, but I'm very fortunate within the role that I do that I can do. I'm at home today. It's very nice. Babcock have been able to very much support me with setting up my home office. There are those resources and those tools to be able to set up a home office. So I've got a workstation at home that replicates the workstation that I have when I go into my parent office in Bristol. But then I could work in Leicester. That's another outlet for us. We've got Radar Road there. Or I work in Devonport. So I do get around with my job and I'm able to work there. What did the Train to Fit bring for me? Well, as you just saw there from Coral's slide, it brought me an introduction and a transfer into, for me, coming from a military background, it gave me the introduction into civilian and the commercial terminology, commercial business, commercial practices, whilst also providing me with new tools through ILX as a training provider, the many resources that would be beneficial to me in my role in Babcock. Not only was it just project management, it was risk management, it was project controls, it was contractual writing to standards within industrial leaders. And also we were given sort of like that HR and leadership training. How do you present yourself? How do you conduct? As we're doing today, how is the best way to do this virtual meeting format, and take those all into consideration. So it was really, really good training. Then we went into our placements. I was going into one placement, unfortunately, for contractual reasons. It wasn't ready to receive me as such. So I was dangled in the air, and Coral caught me. And I came on board with Coral for a program and project that she was looking at in Clyde Naval Base, and we worked together for 9 months. Very much, it was a good project, wasn't it, Coral? In the end, and it's growing now within in the Babcock business. It didn't die. It's continuing and it's growing, and it's actually now got a far larger team around it to support it. So that was very good. But at the end of my Train to Fit placement, as I said to a few people earlier on, Scotland wasn't my preferred location. I needed to be looking for alternatives, something closer to home for me in the southwest. I'm just south of Bristol. So an opportunity opened up for me within SSNA, more broadly known as AUKUS, which is a tri-nation design and build program, including the US, Australia, and the UK. It's public knowledge now that this is what we're doing and building 12 submarines, and we're now in the design phase. Babcock's role, because they will be supporting and maintaining the boats in service, we are now looking at the design influence to ensure that the future design will be able to easily be maintained and ensure that we can maintain maximum service and operational capabilities of those submarines in the future. But also part of the customer is Australia. They have signed up because they want to build, operate, and have that same platform for their own country. Australia, if you're aware of Australia history, this is their first voyage into nuclear because they've been a very nuclear free state. So they've had to go through some terminology and some change of culture, but they're very much on board with this. So it's all good. The working environment, as I said, 2 days at home, 2 days in office. It's flexible. It's beneficial to me. Yeah. I worked last night. It's quite happy. I worked last night for a couple of hours in the evening because I was at home, but that freed up some time for me this morning to do some gym work and come into the office later on, manage our diaries, manage our index. It's from a military background for me, this is very flexible, and I never had that. So Babcock have offered me that flexibility and that free spirit to be able to what I am. What do I bring to Babcock? Oh my goodness me, I bring a lot. I bring an awful lot because that's what we do in our age demographic, because we've lived through so many scenarios, so many experiences. Doesn't matter what your role was before. All of your roles, all of your skills are all transferable. As I say, I started off as a cook. I evolved into catering accountancy. I became an educator. I was a craft instructor. I was a firefighter. I've done risk management. I've done trauma management. And then in my latter years, I was very much a naval overseer in the final stages of build for both aircraft carriers, HMS Queen Elizabeth and HMS Prince of Wales. I saw both of those out of build and into service. So that's really where I was able to probably evolve and develop my skills and make myself more transferable to Babcock towards the end of the service. It's a good place. There are plenty of roles. There are plenty of locations. They are flexible. They are approachable. They are rewarding. And I'm receiving continuous training now. So even now today, they are offering me, continuous professional development. I'm enrolled on a course, to better my skills now, to sort of look at my future career. Where do I want to go? Although I am approaching 60 in a few years' time, and that's my first milestone of consideration for retirement. So, it's what do you want to do? How far do you want to go? Babcock will provide you those opportunities should you so wish to choose them. But now I'll take some questions.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, what a lovely story, Nigel. And I love hearing that you're going to the gym, that Babcock are giving you the flexibility to do that because, well, I mean, we've got the gym group coming in next week and they're going to be talking to all of the people in our community about how important it is that they do things like resistance and strength training. And not everyone wants to do it at 6 o'clock in the evening after they've got home. So it's really good to hear you say that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you also, Coral, for the very good, deep, broad overview. I think the main questions that people were asking at the beginning that would be good to get sort of to dig into was all those sorts of things about, and perhaps if we could do the stop the screen sharing now as well. But I think some of the questions around, what does the application process look like? And, there are a few concerns as well, I'd say, amongst people in our community, rightfully so, because they've all been hit by the rejection stick, even though they can tick pretty much every single box of a requirement list. What reassurance so what is the application process and what reassurance is there that, people here won't screen them out by all means if they don't meet some other criteria, but what reassurance can you give that it's not just going to be an automatic ding, age, whatever?
Yeah, so working with Experience, the sort of strapline that they work to with our support is around, no stone left unturned. If you can take that analogy to say that we're open to considering people from all walks of life, all capabilities. And there is a bit up front to then do some assessment. We'll call it assessment because I hate the word test, but some assessment of people's capabilities, and there'll be some aptitude testing, some, conversations, dialogue, all of that sort of stuff as well. But also, Nigel, I don't know if you want to kind of, from you being a candidate at one point in time, maybe just do a very brief whistle-stop tour as to, application, aptitude assessment, just a bit of a quick overview as to how it felt for your end.
Okay, so when I left the Navy, I left just after COVID. The opportunity to work from home and live at home 365 days a year was very nice for me during COVID. So I did resign from the military and took the opportunity to work from home. So I had to write my CV. And how do you write your CV? How do you articulate military skills, military background, and present it into recognizable buzzwords that industry are going to look for? So I paid £100 and I had my CV and my portfolio professionally written. I then used that to then search and seek for jobs. In this particular case, under the Train to Fit, I was very fortunate that it was Manpower and Experis that reached out and contacted me and gave me that opportunity and opened up that door. And then from that, it was, an initial interview, answer the questions. What experience have I got? What can I offer? And then more interested in what you can offer. Okay, it's what you can offer, what you can bring to the business. And as I said earlier on, in our demographic, we have got so much experience and so much knowledge. So it's what we can bring to Babcock. That's what they want. That's why they are looking at this our age group. So it's what you can bring and what you can offer. So use that and ensure that you've got those paragraphs and those answers to be able to do it. For me, moving forward, once we've done initial interviews, I then had to provide examples using the SMART scenario and give them one or two scenarios of where I feel as though I've demonstrated project management in my past. So that was relatively easy, although my grammar is not fantastic. But use the tools that are available to you to help you with that and use that. And then again, you have to do some psychometric testing. That's something that I wasn't familiar with at 52 years old. But again, use the resources that's out there. YouTube showed me how to work your way through these type of things. So I did practice a little bit and understood it a little bit more before I had to do it. But that was, again, it was just another form of assessment. And then I had a final and virtual face-to-face with 3 Babcock senior leaders where I was interviewed, challenged, questioned, posed and paused. And then very quickly after that, I was offered a position to start. Because of the position and the role I went into, we then had to go through the security clearance. So we had to go through the basic security checks, UK vetting service to ensure that that was all done. Again, that was to maintain a security clearance. DBS, that seems to be a standard format now, I think, with most jobs. But that process, again, was very rapidly done via my contact in Experis. And from being contacted in the middle of October, middle of October 22, I started with Experis on the 9th of January 23. So the onboarding process for me was relatively quick. I think it was probably slower transferring across from Experis into the Babcock role full-time. I think that was a little bit slower, but I was still doing a job. I was still being paid, but the onboarding process was a little bit slower, moving across from Experis into Babcock.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Good overview. I really appreciate it, Nigel. And what I'm kind of hearing a lot from you is actually your own proactivity and practicing things. I would probably say I don't think many people in this group would need to pay that £100 to get their CV checked. But so the process is to submit an actual CV. If it's possible to put a link in the chat, I don't know, Coral or Nigel, if there's a link that people can leave here today, if they're interested in applying, they go along and just hit that and follow up that link, and I can.
Yeah, so there's two links. One of them, of course, we're here for Babcock because these programs are for Babcock. But there's two links I'll share with you. One of them's to the Babcock website, and you can see what sort of job opportunities that we've got. But we're also interested in cultivating external passive talent pools as well. So if you look on it and go, oh, I can't see anything in amongst those hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs we've got on there because we are recruiting, then upload a CV or something like that, because we are looking at our external talent pools that register with us. So take a look at that as well. And also I'll upload the Experience one as well, which takes you into the Experience Academy, which is more generic and less specific to Babcock, but it gives you a bit more of an overview of the programs that they do with different organizations as well. So you're not just limited to obviously we want great people to join Babcock, so there's a plug from me, but we'll also share Experience's Talent Academy information as well, so I can do that.
Yeah, that's amazing. The other thing I just wanted to be a bit crass about and just sort of say, what do you pay people?
Happy to have that dialogue as well. So when we started the Train to Fit program, we had agreed for a starting salary for the individuals of £35,000 per annum. So that was the one. I don't know if it's been reviewed, so there's a bit of a caveat there to say it could have, been adjusted, but it's not going to go down, let's put it that way. So the starting salary was 35,000 whilst the individual was in training through the Experience program. And then when individuals come off program, there's then an assessment done. We have Babcock role frameworks that are then aligned to Babcock salary grading as well. So individuals would typically come out and start off on the entry of whatever the appropriate band would be for a project manager or a project controller or a planner or whatever that would may be. So it would then, they'd all start on the same for the cohort for what they were doing, but then it would diverge off once they kind of got into the business and started practicing once the program had been finished and had been formally recruited into Babcock as well. So 35k, and then it's open for individuals to kind of develop their own career from there, depending on what roles they go into as well. But Babcock wish to remain extremely competitive across all areas. We do benchmarking. We have an annual benchmark that we look to ensure that we're competitive with what we're doing, because we want to retain all of our great people. We don't want to lose them because they can go and get more money somewhere else and jump ship. And we've seen that with some skill shortages as well. So watch this space if you're interested in finding out a bit more about, for example, something called safety case, safety justification, which is quite unique to the nuclear and defence industries. They're rarer, if I can say that, rarer than hen's teeth. So organisations are looking at how can they actually do, for want of a better term, boot camps to develop safety case, safety justification people with varied skill set as well. And that's something that's in high demand, along with something that's akin with something called dosimetry. So individuals that are dosimetry experts, radiation measuring experts who go and understand how that can be done as well. So there's a significant skills shortage in that area across and they're looking at how can they actually take people that have not had any experience and do a rapid upskilling in that area as well. But that was a long-winded way of telling you how much we pay people, what happens when they come off, and also some of the other opportunities that are out there.
Yeah, that's really cool. And presumably if they wanted to kind of hear about those other opportunities, would that be the kind of the generic register with your interest with Babcock? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Good to know. Okay, so you've heard everyone, and by the way, just as an external perspective, and I know that you were saying you benchmark, I mean, I've been doing this for 5 years. I don't know many companies, number one, that take people and offer to retrain them anyway, let alone pay them through that retraining, let alone pay them 35 grand through that retraining. You know, most people would be expected themselves to fork out of their own pocket to pay for a training program. You know, even your cheapest forklift truck driver thing is about 2 grand. So, you know, for 2 days. So it sounds to me like a generous package as a retraining scheme. The only other thing that I think, because I think you've covered off, and I love the examples. I mean, your example of Carol with, you know, 6 years off on a career break raising children. So I think you've answered questions about age. I think you've answered questions. I think you've talked a lot about the kind of the culture of the organisation. One thing that I'm just not entirely clear on is around what kind of baseline qualifications. I think it was something that Hitesh had brought up in his group. You know, is there a kind of like a minimum expectation? Because I'm also hearing Nigel's story of him starting off in the Navy, you know, being a cook and a chef. So what's, you know, is there a kind of a baseline? Is there something here that we need to flag to people as a, you know, a minimum requirement?
I don't believe so. I think it's that no stone left unturned. However, individuals need to go in to understand that there will be some work that will need to be done through the courses that they have to do to then pass sort of the exams that they then have to follow as well. But yeah, we've had people who've come straight in from just work their way up through retail and been a retail manager, to individuals from the creative arts, you know, so much diversity. I think what they're assessing for is the ability for people to at least get through some of those initial opportunities of they have to kind of pass some of the qualifications square. It's not that we can put somebody straight in necessarily into project management without having done the initial project management, advanced project management courses and be able to pass them. But we're not talking about it's got to be degree level or this level or, you know, and whatever. And Nigel was quite open about his seeing his grammar, you know, as we all do as well. And but that shouldn't let people be deterred from having a consideration for coming into Babcock as well.
Okay. I think, you know, looking at the time, for sort of getting close to the hour. So I think we'll kind of wrap it up there, maybe as a kind of a catch-all. If people here did have any further questions, or if they wanted to get in touch with anyone at all, how would you feel about, you know, me sharing an email address? Is there sort of like a place that they can go to ask any other questions?
Yeah, that's fine. I can refer you over to, we've got actually a direct point of contact that's specific for Train to Fit for us, Emma Piker, who basically, you know, that's her role to kind of look at coordination of programs, and she'll be much quicker off the mark in knowing what's in the offing, what's coming for the potential as well. And so I can share that, and I'll also share the other sort of just in the chat, the Babcock careers, because we really do encourage people to register on spec as well. I guess with that, just don't you're not going to get any rejection off the back of that. It's more if you're content to register on spec and share your skills, experience and expertise. We're looking at how, again, we can just be more intuitive with you know, it doesn't always have to be square pegs in square holes these days. We can look at actually how can we look at our job role design and make good of developing people into different roles.
Amazing. All right, well, let's wrap it up there. And I think I'm slightly biased, but I know a lot of these people all really well now. And, you know, this is absolutely the right kind of audience for you to be talking to. So I would say thank you for giving up your time, but I think actually this is just going to be a sort of a mutually beneficial meeting for everyone here. So thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. And Carol, Nigel, you put a lot of time and effort into that presentation, finding case studies that will talk to our audience. So it says a lot to me that you've taken that time in terms of how you value this audience. So thank you very much.